Hi, welcome everyone to another episode of PopCultX. Once again, I am Gabriel and co-host Danny is with us as always. Hello, Danny.
Hello. Hello there.
So this week has been kind of a crazy one for me. Well, I think I'll get into that slightly and share what my experiences were. And as always, the hot topics of the week, anything that happened in pop culture that was new and newsworthy. And also you have a great interview that you were able to conduct. So we're going to include that for our listeners. And so we'll go ahead and get started. So the reason why I'm kind of like out of sorts is I got
out of sorts.
I got not even a text, like a notification on my phone, which I didn't even know that they were doing this. And it says you were how was it phrased? Like you were subjected, I guess, to someone who has now tested positive for COVID. And it doesn't tell you who. And so immediately I'm like, oh, this is like a scam. Like this sounds weird because why would I get a notification like that? It wasn't a text message. It was just like a pop-up. So I went out of it. And then it took me forever to figure out where it was. And it's like on your phone. Like it's I guess part of this like tracking. And I knew that they were doing the tracking for I guess disease prevention as far as, knowing how COVID's spreading, things like that. So they were able to pinpoint what day it was. And it was a day that I went to the mall. So, maybe I shouldn't have gone to the mall that day. But so I have the vaccine. I'm fully vaccinated. So it says that you don't really have to be overly concerned unless you're experiencing any symptoms. But I went this morning to go get a test just in case. And that was like a 3-hour ordeal. Like the line was like ridiculously long, which is kind of sad because I was thinking, well, I'm not feeling, I don't feel sick and I have a vaccine, but like all these other people that are online, like, and a lot of them were like older people. So it was just kind of a downer and like they looked somewhat sick. Like I could see them like blowing their nose or, having, they were symptomatic. And, so it was just kind of sad. It was just kind of like, I mean, I'm not concerned. I have the vaccine and I feel fine. But just to be safe, however, it just kind of brought up that whole, emotion of like having to see all these people at the doctor that are, the odds are probably some of them are positive for COVID and we'll have to deal with that. And so, And on Sunday, Saturday we got kayaks. So I was on the ocean and we're kayaking, which was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. But I'm a dumb bitch and didn't put any sunblock on. And to say that like I'm sunburnt is like such an underestimate. Like my skin is literally like lobster red. Which like you wouldn't think that someone
rock lobster.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that like a Hispanic person could get this burnt, like that I would turn brown. Yeah, but no, that's not the case. I am very much like red, and haven't been able to sleep because like I can't lay on my back. I normally like lay on my side, but like my shoulders are burning and like I can't raise my arms. So it's been like the last couple of days have been kind of like has been a lot. So I mean, and let me say it hasn't been a lot because it's like, oh, you got a sunburn and you had to go get a test. Like it's not really that big of a deal, but in comparison to like other people. But for me, it was, a lot to deal with because, normally I don't have to deal with that type of stuff. But so that's why my mind has been elsewhere the last couple of days. But I have been able to still kind of catch up on hot topics and look at some trending things. One of the things that I thought that was hilarious that is trending or has kind of been a hot topic is that whole idea of actors not bathing. Have you seen that? So I forget who the first actor was that said, oh no, I know who exactly it was. It was Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis who said that they don't always bathe their child or their children, that they wait till they get dirty. And so of course, when it comes to parenting, like everyone and their mom had to like chime in and say like, oh, you should be bathing them every day. That's disgusting. Doctors are saying no, like your natural oils actually help clean you. Like being overly clean is kind of somewhat detrimental to your body because we're not supposed to, we're not like a kitchen counter. We're not supposed to be like scrubbed clean. So that was like the first actor or actress that came out saying that. And then since then, Jake Gyllenhaal came out and said, oh yeah, like I don't always shower too. And everyone has been going in on him on Twitter, like just making fun of him, saying like, you know, memes of like, that's why Spider-Man knew you were there because he could smell you. And it's kind of hilarious. Because it's like, it's something that like, who talks about that? Like who, like now we know like the bathing habits of, you know, certain actors, but I just thought that it was funny because it's like a trending topic right now, like Jake Gyllenhaal not bathing every day. But it's like, it should, I don't know, like it shouldn't be such a big deal. Like I think that people are making it a bigger deal than what it should be. I tend to take a shower every single day because that's just how I am, you know, accustomed to. Like it helps wake me up in the day. Sometimes I'll take two depending on like how crappy I feel. But I could see their point of like, unless you're like really gross, like you could skip a day, I think, like maybe, you know, especially on the weekend, if you're just at home and you shower one day and like you're just lounging in your house and the next day, it's not like you're out like doing construction work or something.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I thought it was hilarious though. Just that
it was funny. Yeah. It's one of those topics that you don't expect to have to entertain on Twitter, I guess. It's like bathing. It seems so, you know, ingrained in us and something that we do every day. It's not like it's something that, I don't know. I mean, I saw that like Dwayne Johnson weighed in on it, that Mila Kunis weighed in on it, that, you know, and it's just like, wow, we're really having this conversation, aren't we?
Yeah, it's like a very important topic of conversation.
I guess it is to a degree. I mean, if you're not doing it right, but now I guess there is no normal or what is right. You know, this like what your body is asking you to do. I mean, what I saw, I think it was, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I read something that said, if other people can smell you, no, if you can smell yourself, it's already too late or something like that. Yeah. So if you get a whiff of yourself, it's already too late. Everyone else already knows. Yeah. So it's like, well,
one of the things that I think that's interesting is that Americans, I think particularly, don't understand is that clean doesn't necessarily have a smell. So like when your kitchen is clean, it doesn't smell clean. It just, you don't smell the bad, right? Bad, dirty has a smell,
right.
But clean doesn't have a smell. And so when someone is clean, you're not supposed to smell like, you know, lavender or something, you know, like that's like what we've added to ourselves. But like as a human being, like you're clean, you're just not supposed to smell funky. But I think that we go overboard, like that some people take that as like they want almost to be mannequins, like they don't want, you know, this idea of like perfection of like everything has to be perfect, like their lips, their eyebrows, their smell, their everything, and it's like shaving, plucking, smooth, like it's weird that like we used to be cavemen and then now like it's almost like death becomes her. Like at one point it's like you get a mask and you like put it on your face and your body is like painted, like you're striving to just be this like perfect mannequin, but like it's, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know. I think like you're supposed to sweat. You're like, I don't think anyone should be overly funky, but it shouldn't be like, you're not supposed to be devoid of, you know, oils, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like it just, yeah, you can take it overboard, right?
No, you're like absolutely right. I mean, I think people, I mean, I guess maybe it all comes down from marketing, I guess, maybe, you know, like you have to look this way. You have to be seen this way. You can't have this or this. And it's just, you know, so we're all trying to live to that idealistic portrayal of humans, which we know is not true and accurate, but I don't know.
Yeah,
to each his own, I guess.
It's a totally weird topic that we're starting on, but it's totally on. It's within my brand to be a weirdo and talk about how people smell. But I just think that, like you said, it's definitely a marketing thing. It's like people, companies deciding your kitchen needs to smell a certain way. Like you need to smell a certain way. Your hair, like we all know, like now it's like pretty much like everyone knows you're not really supposed to be shampooing your hair every day because it's really bad for your hair. And your skin, you're not supposed to be like scrubbing your face every day because like it's damaging to your skin. So I mean, there's a certain aspect that like I think that Jake Gyllenhaal, Mila Kunis, and Ashton Kutcher, they're correct. Like you're not, and especially I was reading for like older people that bathing actually is detrimental to them because some of the like I don't know the bacteria that you're supposed to have in your bodies helps you like prevent certain things. But
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, it's like we've gone on like I think longer than we probably should have. But
and with this, we are in a drought, especially here in the Western United States. So saving water helps.
Yeah, that was. I saw an interview with Coco, who is Ice-T's wife, and that's what she brought up. She was like, "We're in a drought. Like, we're not supposed to be wasting water." And she's like, "I don't shower every day," and she's like, "I'll like do a little, spot check, like cleaning, which makes sense, like
pampering,
there's like there's certain things that like you want to make sure don't smell, but the other thing that Coco and Ice-T are kind of now like." A trending topic is that she still breastfeeds her child, and I think the child is like 2, so the child can totally speak. It's a young girl, and is walking, and it's another example of how people are like putting their 2 cents in on like what other people should be doing with their behavior, like as a parent. And I think it's really interesting that to me that. People care. Like, why do you care if another person is breastfeeding their child? It's not impacting your life. It's not, going to hurt you in any way. But it's like you want to shame them into thinking that their behavior is bad. But like, okay, it works for them. That she's not going to grow up to be like a serial killer. Like, what's the big deal?
Absolutely right. And I think anything that comes to maternal aspects, I'm not going to weigh in on.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, they'll always 99.99% of the time know best for what they need for their kids and for themselves. So, yeah.
True. So getting into entertainment news instead of just this
so let's segue out of that.
Did you get a chance to watch Suicide Squad?
I want to see this pivot from you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Great pivot right into Suicide Squad. Yeah.
Breastfeeding, Suicide Squad. I don't know.
Yes.
It's kind of an oddball movie. Like, I'm surprised that there wasn't like a breastfeeding scene in it. Or, I mean, I could see how they would have done that. Like, there was a lot of random stuff in that movie. Let's be honest.
There was, and I think James Gunn was the perfect person to direct and write. Well, he wrote and directed that movie. Yeah. But it was, if ever I've seen a comic book, thinking comic book come to life, it was in the Suicide Squad. It really was. And I went into it only knowing of the character Harley Quinn. Mm-hmm. So I knew just who her character was. I didn't know any of the other ones. So getting to learn about them and explore a little bit of their stories was really fun. It was really exciting.
Did you see the first Suicide Squad?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So let me back up. First Suicide Squad, like critics destroyed. Like there wasn't a lot of people saying it was a good movie. I actually really like Suicide, the first one, right? I was a big fan of it. Mm-hmm. The second one I do enjoy. I do agree with you that it is pretty much like a comic book come to life, especially with like one of the big villains, if you will, being Starro, like the giant starfish alien, which I think they did a really great job. The people that I saw the movie with were like, "What the hell is that?" Like that was out of left, and I'm like, no, like actually, it's very true to like comic book, and it's like one of the most like sick villains that there are. Like when you think about it, like that whole mind control, like this big monster that like the more power it gets, it literally like can get the size of a planet, to like put it into perspective. And for those who didn't see the movie, it's this like giant starfish alien like creature that controls people by like spitting out like little tiny starfish that like jump on the person's face and then controls the person and kills them.
Control of them. Yeah.
And for people who don't know, this actually predates Aliens. So like that's like how far into comic book history it goes, like that villain.
Oh wow.
And it's really kind of like a really cool, kind of scary villain that like, if let's say, Starro has one of those like little parasites or whatever you want to call them on Superman and can control Superman, who's going to destroy Superman and Starro? Like that's like a really formidable foe. Like that's like one of their probably Justice League's biggest villain / foes that is out there. So I was really impressed the way they did that. I thought it looked really good. It was like well made. The other thing that I like was the way they introduced characters, and some characters came and went, and some characters stayed for the whole movie. I really like that. Yep. I think that surprised the hell out of me, because I was pretty shocked. Like I was like, there was a part of me that was disappointed, because I was like, oh man, like I really wanted to see, this character and what they were going to do with him or her. And well, they're done.
Not really.
Yeah. And so, but it kind of reminded me of what they did with Scream, where they had like Drew Barrymore come in and killed her. And then you're like, wow, like this throws the rules of Hollywood out the window, because typically when you see a movie like a horror movie or action movie, you're like, they're not going to kill Bruce Willis. Like he's the star, or he's not going to, and so you had people that came in to the movie that were continuing characters like Captain Boomerang, or what's the guy from SNL, Pete Davidson.
Yeah. What was his character? Blackguard or something like that?
So like he's kind of like a hot actor right now. And so you think, oh, like it's cool, they're going to introduce him. And once they're gone, then you're like, all bets are off. Like what's going to happen? Who's, going to survive and who's not, which is real to the Suicide Squad, because that's why it's called Suicide Squad. So I thought they did a really good job. I mean, even better than the first one, because there were a couple characters that kind of met their untimely death in the first one, but not to the extent of the sequel or,
well, that's also a James Gunn trait. He likes to kill off his characters, and you never know who's really going to be safe in his movies, which is cool. I like that.
Yeah, I would be interested to see if he kills Star-Lord in the next Guardian of the Galaxy.
well, everyone's talking about Drax being killed off, because I guess Dave Bautista doesn't want to do that role anymore after Guardian Galaxy 3. So we'll see.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I want to come back to that again, because I want to talk about actors' contracts with Disney and Disney owning Marvel and all of that. But there's still some more about Suicide Squad. So the other thing was the action was really good. I thought it was really nonstop,
fantastic.
And I love Harley Quinn as a character. I love Margot Robbie as an actress, and I thought that they did an even better job of really taking that character to the next level. And I sort of even fell in love with her a little bit more, her being like this sort of damaged, anti-hero, which I know you're a big fan of, because, you always say that you like the anti-hero. So was Harley Quinn like the standout character for you in this one?
She was. Well, her escape scene from the prison that she was being held in, that was just a masterful piece of art to me.
Yeah.
Just the way they depicted it, the addition of like the cartoon graphics over it. Oh my goodness. It was just like I could just watch that over and over again. It was just that fantastic to me.
Yeah.
But her character really did take it up to that next level. But Idris Elba's character of Bloodsport, now that was also another anti-hero, and he was in it for the reasons, trying to keep his daughter safe and out of prison. But I wasn't familiar with that character at all. And he just stole the show for me. He was like, and I compared this on Twitter. He was like, and someone else said it. What was it? That Idris Elba's Bloodsport was the Roy Kent of the Suicide Squad. That surly, gruffy, tired of taking everyone else's crap. So now he's not caring anymore. And it was just perfect. He stole the show for me. I really enjoyed his portrayal of it.
The other character I actually really liked was Ratcatcher 2. I thought she really brought like some heart to it. The scene where she like has a flashback of her dad talking to her about why he works with rats was really, an emotional moment out of the movie that was like really action packed and like tongue in cheek. And so I really appreciated that they did that because it was really sweet. It was like a little, like a touchy moment.
It really was.
Her looking back at her dad and why, they work with rats of all things.
Yeah. And that was portrayed by Taika Waititi as well. So that was really cool seeing him in there.
That was, I didn't even recognize him. That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't at first. When I was looking at it, I was like, wait, that's him. So I thought that was really cool.
Huh. They did a great job of, I guess, their makeup because I did not recognize him at all. That's funny.
And also Polka Dot Man.
He was funny.
That was so cool and so unexpected. And like I said, I didn't know any of these characters. So all of them were unexpected to me, but it was just like he has this interdimensional disease. Then he has to vacate the polka dots twice a day or blows them up inside. It was just so awesome.
Yeah.
It's like so comic booky, it's just like, and that's what made the movie to me so fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and also that made it very comic book realness was King Shark. Like, how else, in what universe, like in what type of movie can we have a shark walking around being like one of the main characters? And I thought they did a really great job with having Sylvester Stallone do the voice. I thought that was like a really cool little, treat for audiences. Because obviously there wasn't a huge amount of dialogue, but his voice was super recognizable. It was just a great character. I thought that was really funny. It was like, sort of like the Groot of the movie, like, one-liners that are just kind of hilarious. So the other thing I thought was kind of interesting is that they changed up Harley Quinn a little bit. If you noticed, she didn't have the like face tattoo that said Rodden. I was reading that Gunn and Margot thought aesthetically that it wasn't, needed and that she wasn't a fan because it just took extra time and I'm like, oh, she's made it to that star level now that she can be like
where she gets to change.
Yeah, I'm not going to be putting a face tattoo on today. So I thought that was kind of cool that she was stretching out utilizing her style, flexing her power. Yeah. So good for her.
Yeah.
Because she still looked great. Like, the character's still like obviously recognizable as Harley.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool. And the jacket she was wearing that was more reminiscent to her comic book character, the black and red.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. I loved it. I'm probably going to watch it again this week because it's available on HBO Max, and I actually went to the theaters to watch it. I didn't go in an IMAX, which I wanted to.
Oh, right on.
But it was just a great movie. It was good. I am excited to see maybe they can do more movies like that in the DC universe, because DC has been kind of lacking when it comes to making really great movies. I love Zack Snyder's Justice League film. I did like Suicide Squad, but there's been like Wonder Woman 2 was kind of a miss for me. I think they could have done better with Harley and Birds of Prey. It was still a great movie. Like, it was still good. I really enjoyed it. But some of their films, like, it's like they're still trying to figure out like what formula works for them. And so I'm really excited to see if this is more the route that they'll go.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because the fact that it came from James Gunn, who we know really nailed Guardians of the Galaxy in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
So is it more because he brought that aesthetic from Marvel and tried to implement it into with DC characters that we get this comedic comic book movie, or is it just and that being said, could other directors follow suit with that, or is that just his genius that we get that? And
I don't like not to take away from to give Gunn credit, but I don't think that it's specific to him. I think that it's just that with the DC universe, they tried to go real serious. They tried to have like a certain depth to their characters, which I think was probably a choice of theirs to go like not necessarily fully opposite of what Marvel does, but kind of deviate from the formula that Marvel set up with their universe. And to be honest, like I think they're going that route. Well, they're with the Batman film. I think that that's going to be again like a dark, which I'm really
Right.
I don't know if it's going to work. I'm not super excited to see it just because it's like really not reinventing the formula. It's like another dark Batman movie, and it's like, do we need that? Like I thought Christopher Nolan did a really great job with that, but like, so why do that again? Like I think it would be kind of cool to then see like a complete 180 and have like almost like a super kids friendly version of Batman, like the TV show.
Lego Batman.
Yeah, like I mean, it's similar to that where it's like kind of taking the seriousness away from that character, because it's like again we're gonna have like a brooding Batman, like another movie. Like I saw the previews in the movie theater of this new Batman with the kid from Twilight and
Robert Pattinson.
and Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and there was a fight scene where he's fighting, and it's like it's so dark you can't even see what's going on, which is like a really pet peeve of mine. Like when you see action movies where they have so much shadow and darkness that like you can't even see anything. It's just like you're relying on like the sounds to tell you that someone's getting their ass kicked. And it's like, how interesting is that? Like, that's not really interesting to watch. And like him, I don't know. It just like, it seems very much like just a rehashing of what's already been done.
Well, how about this then? How about the standalone DC movies? So it's not part of the DCEU. They're not interconnected.
Yeah.
Have them be the more gritty, darker, more serious toned, where then as you take the movies that are connected, have the more comic book feel, like the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
That way, when the characters come all together throughout the various universe, that they have a common theme around that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is hard because they have a really big job, right? Like they have to please so many people. They have to please the fans, like the regular people that don't know like comic book lore. So, I mean, it is a really daunting task for them to have to create a movie that pleases everyone, and not everyone's going to be happy. But I'm kind of hoping that they go more Suicide Squad route. I hope that the third Wonder Woman movie is going to be more similar to the first one. So I don't know.
The second one was just confusing to me. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was kind of confusing in a way.
Yeah, it just didn't have enough action for me. Like she didn't kick enough ass. Like it was, and that's what I loved about the first one, and I loved about Justice League, Zack Snyder's version. Like the Amazons are badass. Like Wonder Woman's a badass. Like the second one, it was like, oh, her powers are getting taken away. She has Cheetah as a villain. Like their fights like super small. Like the main villain is like it's all emotional and like I don't know. It just like. It was just not. I get what they were trying to do with like the innate evil of like man and how we desire like these our secret desires, but how that costs us our humanity and we have to sacrifice all of that. I get it, but it was just not interesting because they just did a bad job with it. So we'll see. The other thing I wanted to talk about within like comic book universe or movie universe is Scarlett Johansson has, I guess, brought to light is that she's suing Disney. I just read on Twitter that like a lot of the creators or artists that create these story arcs for Marvel, they get paid like $500 per adaptation into the movie. So Disney's like literally making like billions of dollars off of their stories, and they got paid $5,000. Wait, would I say 500 or 5,000?
I think you said 500. I think it was 5,000.
5,000, not 500. But I wouldn't be surprised.
And they get a thank you at the end of the movie.
Yeah, like and it's shocking. So like, I don't know. What are your thoughts about Scarlett Johansson suing Disney?
Well, I think when I first saw it, I was kind of shocked because it was like, okay, she's making, and that was Disney's retort, was that you made $20 million off to star in this movie. Why are you suing us? To paraphrase it. But I think because they chose to dual release it in theaters and at home on Disney Plus, that they were in breach of contract, which I guess I'm not sure what the contract said. I haven't really looked into it too deeply. What the agreement said, that if they had to be, in theater only for a certain amount of time, but then the whole pandemic happened and the movie got pushed back, and so they just decided to release both. But I think if they were in breach of contract, they need to be held accountable for it. They're making tons of money.
Yeah.
Why should they be, given a pass just because they're Disney and because of everything? If no one else is getting a pass.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm on her side. I'll just say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely Team ScarJo, because I think that it's shameful that a company that's making so much money off of her performance, off of the character that she's like helped develop, and for them to be like, well, you got paid $20 million. It's literally like, a corporation telling you, well, you make $20 an hour.
Right.
Really? My $20 an hour competes to the CEO making like millions of dollars? No, it doesn't. And without her, you wouldn't have that money-making machine. Like, give credit where credit is due. Like, she definitely, I'm sure, in her contract had, she's getting some money on the back end, how it performs in the movie, in the box office. If you can't pay her that because of the pandemic, well, just out of loyalty, you should give her a check for
honor that.
Yeah, like, and it just that they came out like trying to shame her, like, oh, America's going to think bad of you because you made $20 million. Look at you, little Hollywood actors trying to be selfish. No, the evil people here are Disney. Trust me, they literally own everything. They, I'm like really becoming like not a big fan of Disney. Like, I love obviously the content that they come out with, but it's like, it's almost like I'm like a monopoly. And when they own when they bought out Marvel, I was like really sad, because I'm like, they're going to Disneyfy it, and everything's going to be through the lens of Disney, and they're going to have to abide by the rules and regulations of like, the mouse or whatever. And I don't know. It made like a company shouldn't own that much. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, they have their hand in everything now. And it's like, before you know it, it's like, they're just going to be everything. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so I think it's kind of sad that they try to do that to her. I think the star of Cruella is possibly going to be suing them as well, because she basically got the same deal. Yeah. Same deal. Like, it went to Disney and Disney Plus, and she's not making money off of the box office. And so, yeah, you should have to, pay her out, compensate her for that.
I agree.
I forget her name, the star of Cruella.
Oh, Emma Stone.
Emma Stone. So like, I almost feel like Disney should have just like kept it quiet, paid her on the DL. And now other stars are like, wait a minute, like, that is true. Like, you did kind of screw us over. And I mean, they didn't purposely screw them over, because obviously they didn't know that the pandemic was going to happen. Theater's going to be closed, whatever. But you need to pivot. Like, you're a big company. You can afford it. Like, it's bullshit. Like, it's horrible. Like, it's really sad. And what they do to the comic book creators too, like giving them $5,000 really. That's sad.
Yeah, I read about that, and it is sad because I was reading, I think it was, I'm not sure which character or which writer, but they got like a special thank you at the end of the credit and a check for like $5,000.
Yeah.
And they created this whole backstory for this character that they're making buku bucks off of.
Yeah.
And here you go. Here's an envelope with your check. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I want a back end deal where I'm getting profits from the box office. I want a lifetime membership to Disneyland. I want front of the line passes. I want free turkey legs. I want free churros for life.
Some Dole Whip. Yeah.
They deserve it. Like, to be honest, like let the artists, like, you know, reap the benefits of their hard work. I mean, it takes a lot to create a lasting character that is endearing to an audience. You know what I'm saying? Like if it was that easy, Disney could do it for themselves, but they're taking
and they wouldn't have to buy up everything.
Yeah, I mean, how many stories have they like redone for America, right? Like Beauty and the Beast or Sleeping Beauty. Like there's all these, The Lion King. Yeah, like all these tales that they're, you know, borrowing from and redoing. Well, obviously, like, you know, that it's a hard job to come up with creative ideas and original content. So like, pay the artist. Like, you don't have to be evil. You have the option to be good.
You're going to make the money either way. Just pay the artist, right?
Yeah. And it goes so against like the moral of their movies, which is so hilarious. Like, where's Jiminy Cricket when you need him?
So true.
Right?
It's funny that you brought up the ScarJo suing Disney, because I was fortunate enough to sit down and have an interview with a rising star actress. Her name is Chelsea Edmundson. She was in Army of the Dead. She played the bride at the very beginning of the movie who kicked off the zombie infestation, I guess you can call it.
Yeah.
But I was able to sit down and talk to her about that. And we talked a little bit about the whole Disney controversy, I guess you'd call it. And I asked her not about that so much, but more about, as a producer, she's in a movie that she's starring in coming up called The Bunker. She's also the producer of it. Nice. So I asked her how she felt about movies going directly to streaming as opposed to theatrical releases. And she gave a very good answer. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and hear the interview right now, and we'll come back and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Little Talk with PopCultX. My name is Daniel. And today on this episode, I'm joined by an actress, a rising star, and her name is Chelsea Edmundson. Welcome to the show, Chelsea.
Hi. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on here. And whenever I see your name, and I don't know if you get this or not, I always think you're Canadian, even though you're not. Maybe it's just the Edmondson portion. Do you ever get anything like that?
Well, I think my name is Scandi, like it's like Norwegian or something. So I've gotten that before, but never Canadian.
I don't know. Yeah,
I could see where that would be. I could see where you would think that.
Yeah, it was strange. I was like, oh, she's Canadian? No, she's a Missouri girl. Which is really cool.
I'm American.
American.
American. That's right.
So what was it like growing up in Missouri and knowing from a young age that you wanted to be a star?
I wouldn't put it that way.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I think when I was like, actually, maybe I would. When I was like really little, I think I did want to be a star, you know, when I was like 5. But I think like when I was like watching movies, I was like, I want to do that. But as I got older, I wasn't really sure, you know, I was really interested in acting, but I still wasn't sure if that was something that I could actually pull off doing as a career. So I actually went to college and majored in business first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was actually, I don't know, sort of practical, which has been a blessing and a curse, I think, for an actor to have that kind of mindset, you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm a dreamer, but not too much, you know, like things have to kind of go a certain way for me to feel good. So, but I was about 2 years into college at a school called William Jewell in Missouri. And I just realized that I was miserable, even though I had the best of friends, you know, like I was having such a good time, but I was like so desperate to get out, and I just knew that if I didn't give it a chance that I would always regret it. So I just came out to LA and had to give it a shot.
That's really cool. That is really cool. I mean, I wish I could do that. I stayed more of the practical rate with my feet on the ground and to let my dreams get me where I maybe I needed to go. I don't know, but it's really cool that you were able to follow that and be successful.
Thank you. It's going well. It's been many years of struggle and ups and downs, but things are going really, really well. And I just, it sounds cheesy. I feel like actors are always like, I'm so grateful, but I am so grateful. I am really grateful. I wake up every day and I feel super grateful that things are starting to really kind of pick up and take off, and at least it feels that way. And it's just a really amazing feeling for sure, especially after the years of like, what am I doing?
Right.
Because there's definitely a few of those as well.
I hear you. Does it ever feel like when things are starting to click, maybe as they are now, you're like, wait, maybe what's going wrong? What am I doing? Why is it working out so well?
No, I'm one thing that I've developed over doing this that I've gotten a lot better about is just a really positive mindset. Cool. And I think I would have gotten probably to a better place quicker if I had developed that faster. Like I had to shed practicality. You kind of like, I'm still not a total just artist, streamer, whatever. I wish I could be, but I'm not totally like that. But I've shed a lot of, I think, the societal constraints that can be put that you put on yourself, that pressure you put on yourself to be a quote unquote a success or to be a certain way. And I started getting into just like a lot of hippy dippy spiritual stuff, and I'm just a lot more of a positive thinker now. And if things are going well, I'm just like, I'm kicking ass. Things are going well, There's no reason to focus on anything bad or like be like, oh, when's the shoe gonna drop? I mean, that's just not a good way I don't think that's a good way for anyone to live their life. Like
probably not.
If you're doing well, be grateful and just think, oh man, like I'm so happy that things are going so well. Don't ever think like that. Anyone that's listening, don't stop thinking like that.
You heard it here first, you guys. Don't think like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Completely agree. But it's hard. But yeah, I completely agree with that statement. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about Army of the Dead.
Sure, yeah.
I don't want to spend too much time on it because I think I've probably talked ad nauseum about it. But I did have a couple questions. So if people out there don't know, Chelsea was portrayed the notorious character who started off, I guess you would call it famously, the zombie infestation in the Army of the Dead, with a quaint marriage celebration. Let's put it that way. What was it like to be in a Zack Snyder movie, and how much background information did he give you about the character?
Being in a Zack Snyder movie feels, I'll answer that first, exciting, expensive, which is a good feeling. Because I come from the world of indie filmmaking. I've done a lot of indie films. So, and I've done bigger budget things, but they were mainly commercials and a few episodes of television. So this was my first big budget film, and I loved it. Want to do more of it. Love being on set with, little iced coffee machines and shit. I love that kind of stuff. So, it was nice to not have to totally rough it like I have for years. So that was awesome. And people were really nice. I loved my scene partner, Steve. I mean, I always tell people, Steve and I basically made our own little movie. We shot together for 2 weeks in a car with Zach. We showed up every day. Some days they got to us, some days they didn't.
Oh, and
he had a very clear vision for what he wanted in that scene with the lighting. So we would show up in the afternoon, shoot for just an hour or two, and then we were wrapped because that lighting had to be consistent. And he really wanted that kind of dusky, like just after golden hour light. So you can only shoot that for so long. So that was kind of nice because we got to work on it a lot longer and see some of the other actors doing their thing and passing. And it was just a lot of fun. And sorry, what was the other part of your question?
How much background info did you get about your character?
Oh, none at all.
Okay, so you were able to make
They
up your
don't.
own backstory.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, but you can't. You certainly can, if that's your process. I just, yeah, I just think Steve and I. Every actor has a different process. I'm not a journaler or a backstory person. It's kind
Hmm.
of whatever's on the page is what I play. Typically, I
Okay.
might sometimes sit there and think, oh, maybe she did this or maybe she did that, but it's usually just a few things that I'll think of. Not There's not a lot of detail that goes into it. It's
Gotcha.
I think I'm a lot more like an energy actor. Like there's an energy that I'm trying to convey, and there's some, within this short amount of time span, there's just a tone that I'm trying to capture. And I
Hmm.
feel like for that character specifically, a lot of the actory things, like what do I want, those fundamentals of acting those don't really like apply to a character like Misty. Like it's not that deep to be like, what's my objective in the scene? What do I want? It's just
What's my
like
motivation?
a character like Misty to me is just more like a vibe. Like I wanted it to be
Yeah.
fun, loose, free, sexy, funny. I always saw her as funny, not just, I don't know how other girls read for her, but I just felt like I loved the sides and I thought it was really funny. And there was a little bit different, like there was more to it in the original sides that we got,
Uh-huh.
which got cut down a little, but it was just a vibe that I was going for. And I feel like we did it.
Yeah, I think you captured it great. It was wonderful. I was
Thank
just watching
you.
it again last night just to, kind of refresh myself. A bit in a while since I'd seen the movie, and yeah, it sets it up. I think the tone of the movie gets set perfectly just by that opening scene. So kudos to you and Steve for pulling that off.
Oh, thanks. It's helpful when you like your co-star and you have good chemistry, and we
Yeah,
have
that's
just
true.
a lot of fun together. He has a great sense of humor, and we both like to eat, so we just ate lunch together. Yeah, we would just eat lunch together every day and just shoot the shit. And before we knew it, we were friends. And that just makes everything a lot easier.
That's true, and it comes across that way that you guys had a good rapport and the chemistry was there. So yeah. Has anything changed for you since the movie was released, Army of the Dead? I mean, have you noticed any shift in the way you get recognized more, or especially on like online, people come up to you and say anything? Has anything changed since the movie was released?
Some things have changed and some things haven't. I've been recognized in person one time, but I also kind of think the person sort of knew who I was because it was
Okay.
in my own hometown. So I've never been like recognized where someone's like, "Are you that girl that was in the opening of Army of the Dead?" Like that's never happened to me. And I also I don't think it ever would, because especially from that movie, because I don't look anything like that in real life. Like I don't even wear makeup usually when I leave the house. And I feel like even if I was on a big show, if I was a character like Missy, I just feel like I could get away with going anywhere, because in real life I'm always like, my hair, I have a hat on, I don't have on makeup, so I don't see that happening anytime soon. But I have had people look me up on Instagram and Twitter and want to talk, and people have been really supportive and cool in the comments on those. I try to keep most things to the comments, not in private messaging. And
Yeah,
so I don't always look at all the DM messages, but I try to talk to people when I can, and people have just been really, really nice. And so that's been different. Like when you make a really small movie, maybe a few people look you up, but a lot of people reached out when this came
that's
out.
cool.
It was like kind of overwhelming for the first couple weeks, just how many messages. It was like my birthday kind of every day for a couple weeks. And so, but it was really sweet.
That's cool.
Yeah, it
That's
was
really
super
cool.
sweet.
Um, so continuing from that success, I saw that you are starring in a new film called The Bunker. What can you tell us about that, or what kind of details can you give us?
So The Bunker is a sci-fi horror, and it's
Oh,
directed
cool.
by yeah, it's cool. It kind of mixes both. And it's directed by Brian Hansen, who's a director I've worked with previously, and some of the same producers as well. And it's written by a writer I've worked with, so it's kind of a familiar team, and
Oh,
or by
okay.
two writers I've worked with. Yeah, so it's a very familiar team. and it's an alien invasion movie. And, you know, there's basically a team of scientists that are put to task to try to create something. I'm trying to not say too much, create something to fight these aliens with. And so I'm that main scientist, like the kind of, I'm not the head honcho in the movie by any means, but I'm the lead character. And this is my first lead in a feature film being, you know,
awesome.
it's really cool. It's, you know, I've been second, like what they would call lead female, where you're kind of second to a guy and you're supporting a male actor. And that, you know, has been fun in the past, but it's been really, really cool to kind of be able to take more leadership and be a true lead for the first time.
That's cool. I think of like other alien invasion movies with a female lead. I think of like The Arrival and Annihilation are two of that come to mind. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one.
Oh, thank you. I hope you like it. I hope everyone enjoys it. And yeah, we're submitting it to festivals right now. So it's already done. It's being submitted, and hopefully we get to get it out soon for everybody.
Nice. Now you're also a producer on this movie too. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So can I ask you, maybe, I don't know if you have an opinion on this. There was a whole controversy right now with Scarlett Johansson and her involvement with Disney as a producer.
Oh, you're going to ask me about that? Oh my gosh.
We're keeping it light today.
You're like, hey, so I know you're a relatively unknown actor, but do you want to face off against Disney on my podcast today? Pass. Let's just
okay. It's pass. Okay.
I'll tread lightly on it because, you know, I don't know the ins and outs of like her deal and I don't know everything about it, but and it's kind of it seems like a gray area, you know, with these streamers coming out, and, you know, they can just be like, oh, never mind, it's not going in theaters, it's going to be streaming. So, you know, I don't really know the ins and outs of it, to be totally honest with you, but I love her as an actress, and I loved Black Widow so much.
Fabulous. It was awesome.
Yes, it was awesome. She was awesome. Florence Pugh was awesome. I was just like blown away. I had so much fun, and I mean, I just have to say, I hope she makes a shit ton of money off of it, because she deserves it. You know,
no, I agree.
She's epic. So, but I don't, as far as the case goes, or who did what or what was wrong, you know, I don't really know enough about it.
I guess the question I was going to say was not more who was right or wrong. It was going to be more towards, as a producer, and how do you feel about movies going straight to streaming as opposed to getting theatrical releases?
Okay, yeah, I guess I didn't let you finish. That was rude of me. Also,
no, it's okay.
I just put a piece of candy in my mouth. Sorry, I just felt like I needed a chocolate break. So it depends on the budget of the movie, you know? I mean, when you have a movie like Black Widow and it's this huge budget, I think a lot of actors, especially those actors that, you know, they have points on the back end for theatrical releases, they're obviously hoping for a big theatrical run.
Right.
And I could see where, you know, they'd be disappointed that it was split with the streaming, just because, you know, you're just like, all those movies make what, $1 billion when they're exclusively in a theater. So I can understand now, when you're making a low budget indie movie, and ours, you know, when I say low budget can even be like $1 million. So let's just say you made a movie for $1 million, and, you know, you get a really great deal with a streamer, that might be a good deal for you,
right?
You know, and because the thing is you have to split costs with the theaters. You got to split costs with like P&A, which is the marketing teams that help do your movie. And sometimes you can lose money doing a theatrical run.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can certainly not make very much. Like you can certainly lose your ass. So I feel like sometimes for certain movies, it just makes more sense, because you're not going to have to, you can do more grassroots marketing, market the film yourself, and try to just get the best deal from a streamer that you can, and you can sell the movie yourself. There's independent filmmakers now. Like I did a movie with a director named Jim Cummings, and he pretty much, I think, makes and sells his own. Like, I don't even think they use, I could be wrong, but I don't think they use like sales or distribution. Like, I think they sell their own movies, you know, the company that he works with. So now I feel like a lot more independent filmmakers are starting to take more control. And in a way, some of these streamers have given some of that control back to filmmakers, I think. So it really depends on the project and the budget and just a lot of different details. But I certainly don't mind, if a movie goes straight to a streamer that I'm in, because then everybody usually watches it. Like, I feel like all my friends and family and just people that I know are going to watch it because it's cheaper to just sit at home. It's like easier, it's like cheaper. It's easier. You don't have to take all the kids and buy all the popcorn and the candy. You can you're just like, oh, Chelsea was in that movie. Let's put it on Netflix. So for me, I think that's always fun because it seems like more people see it that way. But
I hear you. That's cool. And I agree with you that the streaming platforms have given such a leg up to a lot of independent film creators, or I hate saying content creators because it's more than content, but yeah, it's been such a welcome revelation, I guess, for all the filmmakers. So
there's just a lot of ways to get your film out there for people to see now, and I think that is really cool.
I agree. What or who has been like the most influential artist to you, if you had to pick one or two?
I would say Sheryl Crow is a big inspiration for me. Maybe the most, actually. She's from a really small town in Missouri too that's not far from mine. She's from Kennett, Missouri, and I knew people that knew. I've never met her, but I've known people that knew her growing up, and my dad knew her dad. So she kind of was like this figure of legend to me growing up. She's this girl that she was from a really small town. She was incredibly talented, a musician and a songwriter, and she obviously made it. She's incredible. I love her music so much. And, she's Grammy winning, multi-platinum selling artist. And that's just what she's done to be from a small town and, not know anyone. It's not like she knew somebody that just like made it happen for her. She was always like a superhero to me. I'm not kidding. Like, probably the same as what little kids think of as Batman or something. I just always admired her so much. And so I just think that coming from where I came from and seeing that she moved out to LA and she became this big singer, and like listening to all of her music, it just made me feel like this was all a little more attainable, that it could be done, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
So
it does.
I would say that she's it for me, for sure.
Did I see somewhere that you'd also sing and play the guitar? Is that correct?
I do, yeah. It's like guitar is definitely more of a hobby. I'm not a very good guitar player, but I can play a little, and I do like to sing. Yeah,
that's cool. One of my favorite genres of movies is like musician biopics. So like Walk the Line, or anything like in that realm. It's just like I can't get enough of them. I love them, and I love seeing actors transform themselves into the musicians or the characters that they're playing, where it almost blurs, where you start, is it the character, is that the actor, is it the person they're portraying? And that's when I think I feel they do a great job. With that being said, who would be your dream role to play in a movie? Doesn't have to be a biopic, but any sort of film. What would be like the dream role for you?
I really want to play something like what, I guess, wait, let me think about it for just a second.
Okay.
Dream role. Okay. Well, wait, are we doing dream role or just music roles? Dream roles.
It could be either. I mean, if you have a musician in mind, hey, why not play Sheryl Crow in her biopic? But any sort of film.
I'll give you a few. I've always wanted to play Shania Twain in a biopic. I think it would just be so much fun.
Okay.
The outfits would be super cool. Sheryl Crow, I just like, I would totally do that, but I don't know if yeah, I just don't know. She's like too much of a hero. Like I would be so afraid that I would like screw it up.
Right.
I mean, if they asked me, I wouldn't say no, but I would be like terrified. And it's not that Shania Twain's not awesome, but I just think she would be so much fun to play. But I think in a more abstract way, not like a specific person, I would love to play something like what Bradley Cooper played in A Star Is Born, like just a really complicated woman that's a singer-songwriter, because I feel like you see that a lot in stories with men. Just like the man being like really complicated, and I would love to play a female version of a role like that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would be the dream, I guess. Yeah, I just want to play a complicated singer-songwriter chick that, you know, is trying to figure things out. I think that would be a great role.
Yeah, I think so. That'd be really cool. Well, we talked about before off air, let's say that, about legends in film industry. And I mentioned that my most recent pick was going to be Mike Myers, who is a legend.
I think that's so cool. You're doing that series. And yeah, Mike Myers is total legend.
And you mentioned you were a big fan of his, and especially for one movie series. What drew you to the Austin Powers series, or what can you say that you really enjoy about that?
I just grew up watching those movies with one of my best friends, and me and my friend Lindsay, we knew, like, I'm not kidding, all the words to the movies. Right. We would just watch them over and over. And I just think he's so amazing, because you forget that he's playing all these different characters. Like, you forget that he's Austin and Dr. Evil, even though I've seen it a million times, you know, and Fat Bastard and the other characters. You honestly just forget, because he's so good and he's so funny. And yeah, I just grew up with, I loved the women in his movies too. Like, I think Heather Graham's probably my favorite of the three in the Spy Who Shagged Me, and I love all of her outfits, and I just think she's perfect in those tones of movies. Like, I just think she's like spot on for those. But yeah, he's brilliant, and I love the music. I remember watching it and wanting to dress like I was in the 60s. I just loved everything about them. I still do. I just revisited one the other day on the elliptical machine.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's classic movies. I mean, like you, I grew up watching those movies, and it was just fascinating to see him portray all the different characters.
Yeah, he's insane. He's so good. I mean, it's nuts. He's Canadian, right? Isn't Mike Myers Canadian?
I believe so.
Yes.
I do think he is Canadian.
Yeah, I just am looking it up, and Demi Moore was a producer on the first Austin Powers. I'm like, that's so cool. Why wasn't she in it? But I say that, and I'm like, not every actor should be in a movie that they produce, but I would have liked to have seen Demi Moore in those movies.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
See her playing like a nice little villain there or something like that.
Yeah, she would have been an epic villain, and maybe they'll do another one and Demi Moore could be the villain.
I always hoped for more additional Austin Powers movies. Although he always said there was going to be a trilogy, I always hoped there would be more.
I know, me too. I mean, now's the time too, because it's been a while. Like, they finished strong with Goldmember. It was great. Beyonce killed it. It was so cute. But I'm like, all right, it's been a while. Let's do another one. Bring it back.
Bring it back, right. Well, speaking of bringing it back, and this is actually one of the questions I had for you, was if there was a lot of movies have been making resurgences or comebacks, and whether it be remakes, reboots, or continuations, what kind of movie, or what movie would you say in your eyes that needs to happen to, other than Austin Powers? Like, what is there a franchise that you said, oh, they should make another movie of that, or a reboot or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. They need to make a new Gremlins movie yesterday. I mean, that needs to happen ASAP. And I thought they were. I remember I was like, man, if I could be in any new like reboot or part of a franchise, it would be Gremlins 3. And I'm like, I want to be in it so bad. And I looked
that would be so cool.
Before. Well, it's been on IMDb before. I've seen it. I've looked it up and seen Gremlins 3. So it's clearly been optioned or thought of, or so, you know, I don't know if it's some kind of thing that's getting bounced around between studios or getting bumped, but I've seen it before, and I've heard talk of there being one. So I'm like, well, when's it going to happen? Because I really want to see that.
That would be so fun. I always think of like the movie The Three Amigos. and I want to like get like a follow-up movie with that, with like the original Three Amigos children like taking up their dad, or maybe even daughters, just to make it a little different, taking up their dad's costumes and making a new movie or something like that.
Like they could do 3 up and coming comedians.
Yeah,
That would be
I think that'd
cool.
be really fun.
That would be fun. Trying to think.
Oh.
I mean, I definitely think we need a reboot of Titanic. I mean, right? Titanic 2. Right?
Titanic 2, yes.
we gotta. I don't think that was all resolved. You know, I just don't think that there's enough finality to it, and I just think we need to bring it back.
Are we leaving off from when Rose gets off the dock and what happens to her life from then? Or are we talking more about what like little cutscenes within the sinking of the ship?
Yeah, or maybe it's sci-fi, and you know, it's like that thing on the History Channel where they drain the ocean.
Oh yeah.
And then there's like, I don't know, ghosts or something.
Or they find out it was actually...
And then we blend it with Ghostbusters, and the Ghostbusters have to come.
Or, hey, we blend it. It's a kickoff like an alien invasion. The aliens... It wasn't an iceberg that sank. It was like they struck an alien ship, and they'd have like a 75-year gestational period for them to hatch their egglings or something like that. And now they're all on board and, taking over people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, and they're sort of like in the passengers, and so the aliens just let all the passengers, like they just pop them all back up out of the water.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And so they're like sort of regular people, but they're regular people from like 100 years ago, and then they're also kind of mixed with an alien. I think we're really onto something here.
Right on.
Someone's gonna be listening to this podcast, and they're gonna steal our idea, and then we're gonna be suing just like Scarlett. We're gonna be like, they fucked us. We had a really good idea, and you know what? We're not gonna stand for this shit.
That's right. We want co-creative credit on that.
Yeah,
plus all royalties.
We just spitballed that and killed it.
Oh goodness. Well, one last question I have for you, and I see you have a little dog named Merle.
Yes, he's asleep, look like right by my feet right now.
Nice. Now, I was thinking, is Merle a regional name for Missouri? Because the only Merle I've ever heard named was a character from The Walking Dead. So I don't know if that's where you pulled it from, or if that's just a regional name for Missouri.
It is where I pulled it from, and you are the only person that's ever known that. Most people...
Oh, right on.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Most people think that he's named after Merle Haggard, the country singer. And
oh, yeah. See, I didn't even think about that. Okay.
So most people think that, which would be cool, and I wish I was that cool, but I was really into The Walking Dead when I got him, and I loved that character, Merle Dixon. And I also just had a feeling that he was going to be kind of a mischievous dog, because they say that about dachshunds, Yeah, and I had a couple growing up, so I was like, he's probably going to be a little shit. Like, he's going to be like a bad dog, but he's going to be so awesome anyway. And that's exactly how he is. So it just really suits him that Merle Dixon was kind of a bad guy character, and my dog's kind of a bad dog. He's so sweet, though. He's just very mischievous, and he gets himself into a lot of trouble.
Oh, right on. That is so cool.
But yeah, you're the only person that's ever said that. Most people are like, oh, like Merle Haggard, and I just kind of am like, yeah, because I don't want to, go down this rabbit hole. But yeah, he's named after Michael Rooker's character on Walking Dead.
Yes, nailed it.
Yeah, you did. You absolutely nailed it. I can't believe you got that.
Hey. Well, I guess if we like The Walking Dead, which I do, especially the first like 5-6 seasons where I really enjoyed it, that's where I guess my mind goes. So hey.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it. I gave up on it. I did. I feel bad. I gave up on it, but I am that kind of a person. Like if I don't like a season of a show, it's dead to me. Like I don't stick with it.
Same here.
I am a fair weather fan, and I'm like, it's like if I was ever, a series regular on a show and someone was like, yeah, I liked it, and then I stopped watching, I'd be like, I understand, because I'm like that too. If there's a few episodes that are just not jiving with me, I'll end up forgetting about it and watching something else, because it's just maddening how much content we have now and how much we have available to us to watch. So it's kind of puts a lot of pressure on writers, I would think, and showrunners to just kill it every season because people have so many options.
Yeah, that's true. Got to keep that fan base happy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Walking Dead's done at least one thing right. They haven't killed Daryl Dixon, so at least they were like, if we do that, people are going to just stop watching the show. And so I think they were smart to keep such a beloved character around.
Yeah, I guess like you, I stopped watching it, so I'm not sure where his character arc took him after he got like brainwashed or something like that. But you're right. He was probably one of their top characters, and
people
they did
just
the smart
love
thing.
him. Yeah, he's really cool.
Thank you so much again, Chelsea, for taking some time to talk with us here at PopCultX. We really appreciate it throughout your hectic schedule. We really appreciate you.
You are so welcome. It's really busy around here between all the mopping I'm going to do today and walking my dog. I'm just so busy. but no, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I hope we get to talk again soon.
Nice. Really great interview. Really great insight. I think it's cool to see, small town girl, like, make it in Hollywood industry. It gives hopes to all of us that are from small towns or, small cities or whatever, to kind of have big dreams and to go after them. I think that's really cool. I like that you mentioned Sheryl Crow, because that's totally our generation. Like Sheryl Crow was definitely one of the people that I loved listening to. I think she's really talented, and it's a cool fun fact that I guess they're both from Missouri.
Missouri, yeah. She's American, as she said. Not Canadian is what I always think of, but yeah.
Yeah. It's really funny that you said that, because I think that Canadians do have like little tells where you're like, you're from Canada, aren't you? You don't seem like an average American.
That's true.
There's something about you that's saying Canadian to me, but yeah, I think it's really interesting to hear her take on all of that from an actor's point of view. And that the other thing that I really appreciate and kind of respect is that she's going into like the producing route, because I think that's something that I've always respected, is that like DIY sort of approach to things. Like if you want to create something, just do it. Like you don't wait for someone to hand you a check or hand you, an invitation to create a movie or create photographs or create art. Like if you want to do it, go out and do it yourself, especially with the technology that exists now. Like you can do that. You can make a movie and put it out there for audiences that will like really eat it up. And it could be your way into, I guess, big Hollywood, if that's the route that you want to go. Like there are a lot of people that are very anti big budgets that want to keep it very small budget and, be able to maintain the control, because I mean, things that come along with, like we're talking about with Disney, is that, you sign that contract with Disney and they own you and they control every aspect of it. So, maybe that contract with Disney isn't the dream that you want to come true, so kudos to her.
Yeah. So maybe it's not a dream come true. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I think Selena Gomez just had a interview where she said that like she definitely like gave up her life, or like when she signed a contract with Disney, which I thought was like really sad. Like you always hear these like really sad stories from like these young girls that have these deals with Disney, and it just kind of harkens back to like Judy Garland and the way she was controlled, and like it's just like the same story over and over again of like these young girls that just want to be actresses, like want to entertain, and then these big corporations like own them. And it's like, it's really sad that like that's continues to happen. And then they end up in like, sometimes they end up in really bad situations because they're having to deal with the emotional ramifications of like being controlled their whole childhood and like young adulthood. And, I think it's like very similar to what Britney Spears is going through right now.
Right. That's very true. Very true. You talked about Canadians, and one of the not sure why that's funny, but
it just sounds funny. Getting back to Canadians.
You said Canadian. One of the things that I wanted to highlight in our continuing series of the Big L was a legend for me. What is a Canadian? Yeah. And that would be Mike Myers. So Mike Myers, fantastic actor, person, creator. He's come up with so many iconic characters throughout his career that have held such a special place to me. One being like Wayne Algar. Wayne, what's his last name from Wayne's World? I know it's Garth Algar and Wayne something.
I have no idea.
Anyway, Wayne from Wayne's World.
Yeah, there you go.
It's classic Saturday Night Live from the 90s to the big screen, and it's just right in our generational wheelhouse that at least I did. I followed that along all the time from everything I could get my hands on in both movies, and hoping for a third movie if we ever get around to it. To Austin Powers trilogy, where he played so many of the different characters in there, to anytime I see him on the screen, and even if he's like decked out and you can't initially recognize him, like in Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards, where he was in there as one of the colonels. And I was like, wait a minute, that's Mike Myers. And it just, it's just seeing him on the screen, it just makes me just light up, because I'm such a fan of his, and he's such a iconic actor that just, I don't know. I know he's gotten his just due, but he really needs to be seen as he's just fabulous and fantastic, and always will be. Yeah,
I agree. I really do appreciate him. Some of the films that I like of his that are like standouts for me as far as his performances is 54. Did you see that, where he plays Steven Rubel, I think, is the right, like impresario, which was like very off brand for him, like to play like an over the top, like out gay man that's like coked out, like overly sexualized, and like saying like very adult things to other characters. I think it was like a real shock, but like it really showed like his abilities to kind of step out of those comedic boundaries that he was in. The other movie that I think is probably like one of my all-time like favorite movies, it's I think a cult classic, is So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yes,
I love that movie. Awesome. I think he's so good at it. It's so good. It's a classic. Like I think if we're talking about under what would the word be, like underappreciated, like that's one of those movies. It's like one of the like best comedies to come out of that time. It's just like it's just like a good, easily good movie that just like you can watch, and it's like a good book that's just like easy. Like there's not a lot of thought to it, but like it doesn't have to have like it's not like Silence of the Lambs. Like it's funny. It's good.
I remember when that movie first came out and I saw it, and I didn't really get into it too much because, it was 93. So I was like, I don't know how old I was. Younger than I am now. But I recently rewatched it, and it is such a fabulous movie. Yeah. And all the little nuances in there, and all the character he does portray in that movie as well. And it is a great comedy.
One of my favorite scenes about that, and I think is kind of exemplifies how like maybe you have to be an adult to appreciate it, is when he has his new girlfriend or wife, hence So I Married an Axe Murderer, and he's thinking that she might be a serial killer, and they're sleeping and they're cuddling, and she's like, I could totally like, what is it, like kill you right now, you wouldn't know. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, like you're so vulnerable right now. Like I could just kill you. And that's the kind of thing that like, as an adult, like you relate to, cause you're like, yeah, who did I marry? Like I'm super vulnerable here. And And I think that's the kind of humor that like you have to understand, like when you're married or like when you're in like, or, you know, you, I mean, not sleep with someone in the sense of like sex, but like sleep in the same bed and you're like being intimate and sharing your life with someone. And then you're like, did I pick the right person? Is this really the person that they say they are? And that's what it's kind of making fun of, right? Like you fall in love with someone, but like, do you really know who they are? And like, obviously as like a, whatever you were, 13, 12-year-old, what did you know about that? Like, but that's what makes it so funny, I think, and so great.
Yeah. That movie, like when he's doing his beat poetry, it's just so awesome. Woman. It's so funny.
I love that it's set in like San Francisco because I love that city. I think it harkens to a time of San Francisco that is long gone. Like I don't think the city is really like that anymore. So it's sort of like a cool movie to go back and like reminisce about how San Francisco used to be, not to be that kind of old person, but I am that kind of old person now. So yeah, like I agree. Like he's definitely an icon of our generation of Gen X. Like he's like one of our comic greats easily.
Yeah. I mean, also what he was in is the voice of Shrek.
Yeah.
My goodness, right there.
Austin Powers.
How many movies has he made? Austin Powers. He was in so many other things. And yeah, he really is one of our generational icon.
Yeah. To kind of piggyback on that, if we're going to stick on the theme of Canadians,
okay.
Even though your actress interview wasn't Canadian, she's probably going to laugh about that. Like, guys, I'm really not Canadian.
I'm not Canadian.
Yeah. But since we're talking about Mike Myers, who definitely is Canadian, someone that I'll bring up that is an icon of our generation of like Gen X generation is Alanis Morissette. I am going to be seeing her coming up, I think in September. I'll be seeing her in concert with Garbage. And I'm really excited because her first album is definitely like speaks to my youth. Like I listened to that album like beginning to end so many times. Like it's such a good album.
Jagged Little Pill, right?
Jagged Little Pill.
Yeah.
And then her second album where it sort of deviated from like her regular songwriting style to more of like stream of consciousness writing, which if you listen to a lot of young women writers right now, I think they're definitely influenced by Alanis. Like if you hear, what's the girl that's like really popular right now? I can't think of her name.
Billie Eilish?
No. Yes, her too. I think it has been influenced by Alanis, but there's another one that's like a former Disney star, High School Musical, Olivia Rodrigo. So if you
I know that name. Yeah.
That song Deja Vu is like everywhere. But when I first heard it, I'm like, this is definitely Alanis Morissette vibes. Like it has that like, brokenhearted, open diary, like sharing your feelings, but also like a little rough, like not so, the girl isn't like the victim. Like it's more showing strength within while showing vulnerability. And I think Billie Eilish is a lot like that. And I think it harkens back, or it reminds me of Alanis so much because she was such a badass in that way. Like she's literally like pouring her heart out, but doing it in such a rock and roll way that it's not like a woe is me kind of a vibe. It's more of like, fuck you, I hate you, you bastard. Like you broke my heart, but like I'm still a rock star kind of a vibe. And that's what I really loved about her. And so I still go back and listen to her music. Like I can't wait to see her perform like at her age now and to see how more she's matured in her artistry and hear some of her new music. But yeah, like score another one for the Canucks, I guess, when it comes to
Canucks.
the icons. So Mike Myers and Alanis Morissette, two of the good ones.
Yeah, definitely. I remember listening to Jagged Little Pill a lot as well. I mean, like, who doesn't know all the words to Ironic,
right?
Really? Right. It's just like that comes on in no matter where you're at, you'll sing along. So it's just like so cool. And I didn't know this, but Olivia Rodrigo, she was born in, I think she's from Marietta. So just up the road from you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't. I mean, she's so like not on my radar because I'm so old that It's like, why even get into it? Like my niece, speaking of Savannah, she sent me a link and was like, oh, you should check her out. She's really good. And she's like a really big fan of hers. And when I listened to it, I'm like, okay, she's like really talented, but it's like so obviously not meant for me. Like it's not, I'm not her demographic. Like it's definitely for the like 17 to like maybe, I don't even know. Like I think it's very like high school, first year in college age. Like I think some girls that are like already in their 20s might be a little too old for it, just because like they're more mature and maybe they have a little bit more cynic in them. I don't know, but it definitely, she is raking in the cash. She's definitely popular with people right now. So yeah.
Good for her. Why not?
Stealing our style, stealing our Gen X vibes, and reselling it to the young kids.
Hey, if that works too.
But what my cousin posted on Facebook, it was really funny. She took her daughter to go buy shoes, and her daughter picked out like these big like Doc Marten combat boots, and she's like, "Oh, she is my daughter," and I just laughed because it's like, it's so funny that kids are like walking in our footsteps with trends that we did. And I mean, we didn't invent them. Like Doc Martens were like circa punk of like, you know, the 60s and, you know, out of England. So like we can't take credit for that, but like, it's just funny that like it's stuff that we thought were cool. And
right. It's all circular. Yeah. I mean, I think about to like during high school and like the whole, or at least some of the crowd that I ran with, they were into like the whole rockabilly, you know, from like the 60s and stuff like that. So, and how that just, it all comes in waves and goes in circles. So it's really cool to see that and the trends. And like, wow, I can break out all my flannels again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I remember one trip we went on. It was for the photography team of my high school. We came to San Diego on a field trip for a convention, and we obviously had shared rooms or whatever. And we had like a row of shoes of all of the guys' shoes, and they were all like Doc Martens, and we all like wore the same size. So when I woke up, I was like, God damn it, these better be mine, because I don't want to be wearing someone else's shoes. And like, I was still like not convinced, because I was like, these feel like they're not molded to my feet.
They're not mine.
But like, I guess it's close enough. They're the same. Like, it was weird, but it just like kind of goes to show that like that year, like it was very grunge, like alternative, like especially with people that are like photographers. Like we were like kind of, you know, that style. Like it, that we, you know, it wasn't the jocks. Like I don't think jocks were wearing.
And the grunge, we didn't bathe either.
I know, right? I did. Yeah.
So
yeah, there was definitely
also full circle.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe Ashton Kutcher. Well, is he? He's probably younger than us, right? He's probably maybe he's in his 40s. Is he?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Mila Kunis is definitely not. She has to be much younger.
She's probably late 30s.
Huh. So. It's so weird. Like there's I don't know if this ever happens to you, but there's times when like I'll think of an actor and I'm like, they were so much older in my mind when they were, I felt like I watched them first time around, like someone like Drew Barrymore. And then like you see their age and you're like, wait, she's 3 years older than me? Why did it seem like she was so much more older than me when I was watching her movies? And then vice versa, like I'll see someone who I'm like, oh, she's way younger than me. And then I'm like, oh, she's 3 years younger than me. Why did I think she was so much younger? It's like, it's so weird. And I guess maybe because people don't always play their age when it comes to roles.
Right.
So
True.
Someone could be playing someone much older or younger when they really are, you know. So it's just weird. Like I always do that. I always think like, not that I want to play the role, but I always think, could I have played that role? And I'm like, no, like I was way too young or I'm too old. But then you find out the real age of the person. You're like, wait, I could have been in that movie. I could have played that character.
You could have done it. I always get a kick out of something similar when I hear when I'm watching like some athletes and they talk about his age, and it's like in baseball, I'm like, oh, he turned 37. He's an old man of the group. I'm like, wait a minute. What? Yep. He's younger than me. How is he an old man?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man.
It's definitely.
But then again, thinking. Yeah. From when I was earlier and hearing, oh, wow, that person's 36, 37. I was like, wow, he's old. Yeah. So it's like, it's that weird shift.
It's weird that like at our generation, like there are certain careers that like, even however you want to say, like, age is just a number, you can always, like, change careers or change your path at whatever age. But there are certain things that is definitely off limits to people our age. Like, we're too old to be a firefighter now, too old to be a cop, like too old to be like certain professions. And I think it's kind of interesting for me anyway, that it's like, oh, like, not that I ever wanted to do those jobs, but like, I'm too old to do that, which is a weird feeling. Like when I mean, it's like, I guess my rebellious nature that it's like, oh, well, you're too old. Well, now I want to do it. Now I want to see if I could be a cop, which, like, I never would want to have to be a cop. But like, now that you're telling me that I'm too old, I'm like, I could still do that. No, I couldn't.
You can't enlist if you're over that age. Wait,
yeah.
I want to enlist now. Come on.
Yeah, like, I want to be a Marine. Like, no, you don't. But it's like, just that it's the forbidden, like, fruit, I guess, of like what you can't have. And then all of a sudden you want it. It's like a mentality of like a 2-year-old.
Yeah. That is very true.
So what other things kind of caught your eye or were on your radar this week?
Well, the last thing that really caught my eye, I've been watching every episode of Ted Lasso, as you probably could have guessed. Yeah. Huge fan of the show, and season 2 has been really bringing it in more of its not just the happy-go-lucky Ted Lasso. It's been a little bit deeper.
Oh, really?
And in this I think so. And in this most recent episode, episode 3. It's called the Do the Rightest Thing. So we have the character of Sam, who's a Nigerian defender, and he gets picked to be like the face of Dubai Air, which is this made up sponsor of Ted Lasso, of the team on the show, the AFC Richmond. And so he's all happy about that. He's elated because he's going to be in this ad campaign for their team and whatnot. But then he texts his father that his elation, and his father sends back a message saying, I don't know how you can be so happy, because the parent company of Dubai Air, this fictional company, is some gas oil conglomerate that's been doing horrible environmental disasters to the Nigerian coast. So it really brings down his elation and makes him think about how does he really want to be the face of this company that's destroying his homeland? Wow. So if you haven't seen it, I won't give away too much, but he does do a protest for there, and how it really shows how sports figures can be pivotal mouthpieces for protest. Mm-hmm. And the way he does it and the way the rest of the team join in with that protest is really moving. Mm-hmm. And then I find out later on that it's based in a reality. So I guess there are some big oil companies that have been causing environmental disasters along the Nigerian coast. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they were able to, I learned this word, confluence them into the show, and the writer, Ashley Nicole Black was able to write that in, was just marvelous.
Yeah. It's really cool. I'm not caught up, but I'm glad to see that they're using their newfound popularity on the show to like kind of shine the light on like other issues other than are we going to win this football game, which is what I like about it, right? Like, I was trying to explain to my dad like why it's such a good show, and I could tell he was surprised, because it's like, why does Gabe like a sports show? And I'm like, it's not a sports show. It's it's everything outside of the game that's interesting to me. And that's what makes it such a good show. So I think that it's great that they're kind of adding to that by showing this added dimension. And that's really cool.
Yeah, I think they spend less time in the actual sport side of it, which is really cool, and more on the relationships, the not the feel good, but just everything else around it, the protests, the relationships between the other characters, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, great show. It obviously has PopCultX stamp of approval. So if you haven't been watching it, we talk about it like every week. So in one way or the other,
have to create a graphic that says PopCultX stamp of approval or something like that.
Give it 6 thumbs up.
6 thumbs up. Okay.
Simpsons did it. It's a Simpsons thing. So I think that it's a great show. Yeah, I agree. I need to catch up. There's so many good shows right now that another show that I have heard a lot about, but I haven't been able to watch is White Lotus on HBO. Have you
heard of that? Right. Have not seen it yet. Heard about it. It's on my radar to go check it out.
Yeah. So White Lotus is, so I guess if we're doing recommendations for people, Ted Lasso definitely already is what we have to watch. I myself am going to have to watch White Lotus. Anything else that like you want to catch up on or you're watching soon?
Well, I caught the first 2 episodes of Reservation Dogs, the new show on FX on Hulu, and it was interesting. I knew what to expect because it's created by Taika Waititi, so I knew the kind of style that he brought to it. But it was really cool. I enjoyed it, and it was told from a different point of view that we don't get to hear enough from, which is from the indigenous Native American point of view. Yeah. But I recommend it. Go watch it, and the highlight for me so far was 2 parts. One where they're all coming from the 4 stars, we'll call them leads of the show, come from a memorial service that they had for their friend who passed away, and they all had on the black suits and the white shirts with the black ties, a throwback to Reservoir Dogs, how they all wore that same outfit. And that was a really standout moment for me. I was like, oh, wow, I know that reference. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And then there's 2 actors in there who are like Native American rappers maybe, but they can drop some beat, and they're pretty cool. Yeah, it was really cool.
Well, you know me, I always love a sick beat and a dope rhyme, so I'll have to check it out.
A sick beat and a good rhyme, yes.
A dope rhyme, excuse me, a dope rhyme.
Dope rhyme, excuse me.
I beg your pardon. So I will definitely have to check that out. The other show that I want to watch that's on Apple Plus, not to like be all Apple Plus about everything, but Mr. Corman with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I want to watch because I think he's really a good director, actor. Like he is all around just like a well-rounded artist. Like I just always like the stuff that he's in. So I want to check it out. I don't really know a lot about what it's about. I think I think he's a teacher.
He plays a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. He plays a teacher, and I guess he got out. I saw the first episode.
Okay.
And it was interesting. It was a little different. I mean, it was kind of cool, but I have to go rewatch it because I think I fell asleep during it. Because I'm old. So.
Yeah, it happens.
But it might have been 3 a.m. too, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I enjoy, like you, I enjoy his work, and yeah, I think it's a show that's going to be a step back from what we're used to. So it's going to be more, maybe even a little more realistic to like some of the nuances and circumstances that we're going through in life, because I think his characters are roughly around the same age that we are. So it's interesting.
So is it midlife crisis territory? Ish.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, okay.
At least from what I remember. Okay. But it's pretty cool.
Because I was reading about, as you're talking, I'm reading it, and it's saying that like he loves his kids, he loves being a teacher, but like he's having trouble with his happiness. And I think that does speak to our generation, that like you hit our age and you're like, let me reevaluate my path. Like, where have I come? Where am I going? What is happiness? Right. Is happiness for me? And so I do enjoy, like my personality is I like to really delve into shit like that, where it's like a downward trajectory of like, I don't know, reevaluating stuff and maybe being a little like over dramatic, but then like coming out through it and being like, oh, okay, like it's not bad, like, and hopeful at the end. So I'm going to have to check that out. I do like him. The last thing I do want to bring up is this other show that is really kind of like surprising, that I guess like, well, not really, because I love reality shows, but it's called Glow Up. It's a reality show on Netflix, and it's about makeup artists. And really not super interested in like the details of the makeup, but I just love a reality show where like the people are interesting and they're all English and I love English people, Anglophile like all the way. So they have like an interesting cast of characters. The judges, one of the judges, her like key phrase or her catchphrase is "ding dong." When anyone does like a really good job, she's like "ding dong," and it's like it reminds me of Austin Powers, which is like getting back to Mike Myers. Like it's such a like you can see that she is of that generation of like the swing 60s like mod style. Mm-hmm. Like she probably grew up in. The fact that like she still has that like as her catchphrase, like "ding dong, baby," like it's just like it's fun. Like I love it. Like it's like I said, I don't really care about like the makeup. I don't really understand whatever. But like it's just fun to watch because it's like I mean it's sort of like up my alley because it's like artistry and it's like it's more like painting when it comes to their makeup. Mm-hmm. It's like almost like Face Off or special effects because like they're not necessarily just doing like, oh, make this girl pretty. They're doing like these crazy artistic stuff that you know, as photographers, like we would want to work with someone like that because we would like to have a creative image. So I mean there is aspects of it that I am really interested in as far as like the fashion sense and like being involved in that when it comes to being a photographer. But I just love the catchphrase that the judge has, like
"ding dong."
Yeah, like every reality show has to have like a catchphrase. Like, you know, Heidi Klum is "Auf Wiedersehen," or Tim Gunn on Project Runway was "Make it work."
Make it work, yeah.
You know, Tyra Banks is "Smize." You know, on America's Next Top Model, like you know, I eat it up. Like I'm all about it. All those cheesy reality shows. So there's another one on Netflix that I'm gobbling up.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Everyone, thank you so much for hanging in there with us. This is episode 20, so we're big double X for you this go around. Yeah, thank you so much for subscribing, for watching, for listening. We want to hear more from you. We do want to hear your feedback, your comments. So drop a comment in the video, YouTube feed, whatever. Send us a message on Instagram, send us a message on Twitter. We'll be happy to hear from you and maybe work it into the show somehow.
Yeah, and before we go, I have homework for people who are listening. So if you could, as a personal favor to me, your co-host of PopCultX, if I could have anyone who's listening to the show send us a message of where you're listening from. I would love to hear what country, what city, what state you're from. Just give us a little shout out. You know, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm listening from wherever you're listening from. I would love to hear where you guys are from, just to give us an idea of where our podcast is reaching. I think it'd be really interesting to hear from you. So homework for our listeners this week as well.
All right. You heard that from Teacher Gabe. Professor Gabe, sorry. So take care, everyone.
Stay safe.